Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 106th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm great, Cameron, and I'm also going to be a little bit predictable. I'm great because we're going to be watching football 24 hours from now.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're listening to this, it's probably going to be in like a lot less than 24 hours.
Even less. Yeah. Yeah.
How are you today?
I'm great. I'm great because I just realized that, okay, so go with me here. Some podcasts or shows of any sort might have a way they refer to their fans or listeners or viewers, you know, like a nickname. And we have a unique opportunity where we could refer to our listeners as our good friends and fellow Mizzou fans.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I just thought of that. Yeah. So.
It's a little bit of a mouthful, but I love it.
Yeah. You know, we'll work on it, but that's a good first effort.
That's a great start.
Okay. Well, for all of our good friends and fellow Mizzou fans listening, we have a jam-packed episode for you. We have news. We have a basketball commitment. We have an entire football season preview. We have a 7-on-7 NFL Street style draft of Mizzou players coming up. Let's get to the news first. I said commitment. We have two commitments to talk about. First one is football. And his name is what is it?
Kyron Montgomery.
That's it.
Yes, he is a defensive end from Indianapolis. He's a 4-star player, and if you watch his film, you can see why. He looks like he should already be in college. He's enormous, and he's very fast and strong off the edge, great tackler. I'm very excited about this kid. I can't wait to see him and Travion Ford on the field at the same time on opposite ends of the line. Man, it's going to be a beautiful thing.
Do you know by chance who Mizzou beat out for his services?
Yes, it came down to Missouri and Minnesota with PJ Fleck up there. He's a good recruiter.
Row the boat.
They have been pretty good in the last few years.
It seems like Missouri's been in recruiting battles with them a couple times now in football and basketball.
Yep.
All right. And of course, we've talked about Mr. Montgomery a few times leading up to this decision on the podcast. So switching over to basketball, Missouri got a basketball commitment out of nowhere. In about a span of 24 hours, there was interest and then an offer and then a commitment.
Yeah. For
2021, 6'7" forward out of Springfield, Missouri, Trevon Brazil.
Yeah, he like you said. I mean, I woke up yesterday and never heard of this kid, and then like saw that we had offered him. And I was like, okay, cool. And then within a couple of hours of that, he had been offered and had committed. So, I said offered twice, didn't I? He got offered and then committed very, very shortly after. And it's funny is, we live here in Springfield. He went to Parkview, and then is transferring to Kickapoo to play with
Kickapoo. Just creating an all-time team.
Yes,
over there.
They are assembling a powerhouse. I'm a Kickapoo alum.
How's that legal? Is that legal? Nobody knows.
I don't know. I really don't know.
They got kids transferring over there that are really good.
Yeah, they're going to be really fun to watch. I would love to go watch them play some this year. I know we're going to hopefully see them in the Tournament of Champions, assuming that happens.
I'll stay as far away from people as anybody wants. Yeah. I'll wear as many masks as anybody wants if I could go watch them play a few times.
Yeah, so he's joining Anton Brookshire. Isaac Haney, is that his name?
Yep.
And so they had some action this weekend as well, and did very well against some very good competition. So they're a nice little pod. Isaac Haney's going to go to Missouri State.
Mm-hmm. That Yanders Law AAU squad, not a big name squad, but making their mark and turning some heads. Mm-hmm. Apparently, really turning the head of Conzo Martin.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I kind of love. I'm totally fine with this, and a lot of people have expressed their disappointment with his commitment just because he's kind of an under the radar guy. But we've heard a lot of reports about other Power 5 schools kind of wanting to get interested, and he was very adamant about Mizzou and going there with his teammate Anton Brookshire. And I was watching his film today. You know who he reminds me of? Is Trey Jackson a little bit. Very athletic, very bouncy, great rim protector, can shoot the three a little bit. He honestly he moves around pretty well for how long he is. So I'm pretty excited about this class, honestly. Like it's started off as a little bit of a ho-hum class, and some of these, you could label some of these guys developmental prospects, that's fine, but after a couple of years, I think this could be a pretty solid class. And Brazil with Dury Gordon, that's going to be a pretty interesting combination on the wing, especially on the defensive end with their length. They both could be pretty good defenders.
Yeah. There's several of these guys in this class. I can't wait to see how they look as juniors and have had time in the weight room with Nicodemus Christopher and have just started to, really find their place at the college level. I'm really excited for that. And I did want to mention that Trayvon Brazil is rated as a 3-star according to 24/7 Sports, the number 6 player in the state of Missouri. Now that he's getting a little bit more attention, we'll see how that changes with the rankings. And I also wanted to mention that when I was checking that out, I saw that Anton Brookshire has jumped Jaden Jones on the state of Missouri rankings according to 24/7 for the number 3 spot, creeping up on Jordan Nesbitt there.
Very good.
Kyle, I wrote down here MPJ Montrez Harrell, and that's because, as we all saw, and you posted on Instagram, MPJ just, I think the kids would say that he baptized Montrez Harrell.
Yeah. I honestly don't watch a lot of NBA, but I was watching this game live at the time, and I just happened to see that play, and I was like screaming in my living room at whatever time that was, probably like after 10 o'clock, and my wife was like, all right, calm down. But I was like, I just hadn't seen MPJ do that in so long. I was so like shocked that he just took flight like that, and it was really cool to see, and I don't know, I was happy for him.
Yeah, I saw Jonte reacting to it on Instagram as well. Yeah, it was just really cool to see him flash that athleticism that he was known for in his high school days.
Yeah, he was not just throwing down on anybody either, because I think Montrezl Harrell was the 6th man of the year last year, I think is what they were saying on the broadcast. I had no idea about that, but I know he's a really good player and good defender. So
yeah, I'm really hoping that Denver can somehow beat the Clippers. I don't know.
What's the series at now? Is it did they win the other night?
You had to go and ask me that. I think
they lost. I think it's 2-1
Clippers.
Yes, I think you're right. I think they play today maybe, though.
Yeah.
Just had to ask you that, didn't I?
2-1 Clippers.
Yeah, it came down to the wire the other night, but they couldn't pull it out.
Is that all for news, you think? I kind of hope so, because we have a lot to get to.
We have a lot to get to.
Yeah. This is Kyle and Cameron from the future. We just finished recording our podcast, and then Yaya Kita committed to the Missouri Tigers. So we were throwing this right into the news section. Hopefully it flows nice and smoothly in. But yeah, we were literally packing up, and Kyle got on Twitter and saw that Mr. Kita had committed.
Yeah, so all of a sudden Missouri's got 5 players in the 2021 class. Not that long ago, we were wondering if Missouri was ever going to have another commitment, because I was like, is Konzo recruiting anyone?
Yeah.
And here we are with 5 people in the class, all freshmen.
Yeah.
Which I think was more than we thought would happen.
Oh, yeah. I thought 4 would be the max. Obviously, I never saw Trayvon Brazil.
Yeah.
Who could predict that?
No one.
But we actually did predict Yaya Kita to Missouri, so... Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this officially makes most other high school players in this class probably obsolete. Especially, I know we still had a Legend Geeter out there yet to announce. I think that we have probably recruited over him at this point. So we've got one more scholarship officially. I think Xavier Penton will probably leave, which means we probably have 2 more scholarships that will go towards transfers of some kind. But that's really a pretty solid class of high school players coming in. Pretty exciting. Yeah,
probably Konzo just stop recruiting high schoolers at this point unless something changes and you feel you need to, I think we're good on freshmen for the 2021 class. Probably need to find a transfer of some kind to fill a hole somewhere. So,
and if we need a 7th guy, there's a lot of good grad transfers out there.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty exciting. A guy that we know the staff wanted, they just decided to go get him. All this flurry of commitments here in the last 2 or 3 weeks. But it's going to be kind of weird seeing other names go off the board that Missouri had, or that maybe Missouri was never interested in, but we as fans were interested in. As the recruiting process plays out, it seems kind of weird for Missouri to be kind of done with this class so early.
I know.
Usually it's
crazy.
October, November. I guess we're not that far off of that, but October, November, I think, we were waiting for E.J. Liddell into October.
Well into the winter and fall, yeah.
Yeah. Winter and fall?
Winter and fall. Are we going to talk about seasons again?
No, never again.
Surely would not like to discuss any seasons with you two ever again.
Never again.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think Yaya Kita definitely brings versatility, some crazy athleticism. I think he's probably 6'9", 6'10", can really defend, and he's had some crazy throwdown dunks that we've seen some highlights of as well. So there is a lot of athleticism in this class, kind of maybe more upside than we've seen in previous Missouri classes. This class versus Jordan Wilmore, what do you think? A little more upside?
A little bit more. Not as much height.
True.
Yeah.
Can't teach that.
No. All right. Well, back to your regularly scheduled programming. Is that all for news this week? I kind of hope so, because we have a lot to get to.
We have a lot to get to.
Yeah. But before we get to any of it, this episode, like all of our episodes, is sponsored by 106 Apparel. But since this is episode 106, I wanted to give a special shout out. And I don't think we've ever talked about before what 106 Apparel is. 106 Apparel is an apparel company created by our very own producer, Cameron. And producer Cameron, why don't you what's the elevator pitch? What is 106 Apparel?
Right now, it's just a side project that I do outside of work, kind of for fun, Midwest-based apparel, just kind of championing this part of the U.S.
So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see I'm wearing the Midwest or Die tee, just really kind of showing my bad boy side a little bit. And what's very popular right now is the Midwest Coast tee. And if you're just listening, I'm going to leave a link in the description to the store where you can take a look at these products. And that's 106apparel.co, 106apparel.co. Midwest Coast t-shirt. Go check that out. Producer Cameron is maybe going to put images, perhaps, right here in
somewhere
the episode.
Up in this area, maybe. I'll see what I can do.
So if you're watching on YouTube, you will get to see what those shirts look like. And we're just really happy that producer Cameron has this little side business and has made it a part of the podcast. 106 Apparel. We say it every episode. I say it every episode, but now you get to know what it is. And since this is episode 106, go check them out. 106apparel.co.
Thank you.
106apparel.co.
That was nice.
Thanks.
Yeah. You were more prepared than I was.
All right, Kyle, you ready to talk about Missouri's schedule?
I'm ready.
This is the football schedule we're talking about because Missouri's playing football along with the rest of the SEC. Is the Big Ten going to play football? Probably not. Yeah. Well,
I can't believe that September 9th?
Big Ten's not playing.
They're not playing, but the SEC will at this point. I'm more sure now than I think I was a month ago that it's actually going to happen.
I'm more sure now than I was yesterday or 3 hours before this moment. Every moment we get a little bit closer.
You get a little bit more assured.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a beautiful thing.
Kyle, Missouri starts off the schedule with Alabama. Last time Missouri played Alabama, they lost 39-10 in Tuscaloosa. It didn't seem like an absolute bloodbath. It didn't seem like they lost by 29 points. Maybe that's because Alabama, if they put up a more gaudy offensive number like 56 points or something. If it was like 56-28, then you'd feel worse about that score.
Yeah, it never felt like Missouri was going to win, but it definitely never felt like they were, I guess, completely out of it either. They really played well. Drew Lock had a very nice highlight, and that like a touchdown pass to Jalen Knox that I can remember from that game that I saw on his draft highlights and stuff a lot.
Got us excited for Jalen Knox.
Yeah. They looked okay, and hopefully that they can manage to do that this year.
Alabama projected first in SP Plus, which is a predictive analytic for college football. Number 1 on offense, number 8 on defense. Trend here this year and last year, Alabama's offense kind of taking center stage. Last year, they fell short of expectations, believe it or not, when they lost 2 games, one to the champions LSU, and then also to Auburn on the road by 3. And they lose a lot on the offensive end. They lose Tua, they lose Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, offensive linemen, all in the first round of the draft. I think first 15 picks, Alabama had 4 draft picks. But they do bring back Najee Harris, Devonta Smith, another really good offensive lineman, Alex Leatherwood. And they probably all would have gone in the first 3 rounds last year if they had all stayed in the draft. I'm really interested. Missouri obviously has a quarterback competition. We don't know who's going to start against Alabama. Alabama, maybe they don't quite have a quarterback competition because Mac Jones is going to be the guy day one, it looks like. But they have this freshman named Bryce Young, who is the number 2 player in the class of 2020 and the number 20 all-time high school recruit, according to 24/7 Sports. He's a dual threat. Reminds me of Kyler Murray. He slings the ball around and is always looking to pass when he escapes the pocket, but can run when he needs to. And kind of a smaller guy like Kyler Murray. I think the offense is going to be pretty loaded. I mean, obviously Tua was a special player, and you can't really replace him. But they only need, Alabama's shown, over the years, all they need is okay quarterback play to be excellent.
Yeah, they've honestly kind of been that way for a long time. As good as they've been, it's amazing how, maybe not pedestrian, but just unspectacular their quarterbacks have been. Even Tua really had some great moments, but never was just carrying the team by himself.
He also just kind of made everything he did look easy, though.
That's true. It'll be interesting to see what he does in the NFL, but Najee Harris, I definitely think, is probably one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in college football this year. He's just an elite combination of size and speed. He can juke you. He can run through you, run over you. He's really, really good.
I think if Alabama finds a way to run the table and be in the conversation for whatever this national championship will look like at the end of the season, I think it'll be on the back of Najee Harris, and I think he'll be top 3, if not the winner of the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, and I think he's the kind of guy who I think could have an even better NFL career than in college. We see that a lot with Alabama running backs. They kind of use they're not even the lead back at Alabama maybe, and then they go on to have great NFL careers like Kenyon Drake and
Josh Jacobs.
That's the other one I was thinking of. Josh Jacobs was like the third-string running back at Alabama, and now he's a top 10 running back in the NFL. So
Henry won a Heisman, but the point stands with the 2 you mentioned. The defense had a lot of freshmen on the field last year, had some injuries last year. They lost Raekwon Davis to the NFL draft, as well as Xavier McKinney and Trayvon Diggs, really good players. The defense will be just fine based on the recruits that are coming in and the freshmen that had to play last year, being more experienced this year. I still think the defense is going to lag behind the offense, just like it did last year. But the defense is going to lag behind and still be top 10, top 15 in the country. So it won't be that big of a deal. I've got Missouri losing to Alabama. I wrote this score down before I looked at their score from 2018. I've got them losing 10-38. So almost identical to the 2018 score.
Yeah, they're going to lose. But are you wanting me to predict a score, or do you want me to save that for like 2 weeks from now whenever we talk about Alabama again?
You can save it.
For the scheduled preview.
Yeah, that's fine. So we both have that as a loss.
0-1.
Gotcha. All right. Then Missouri moves on the road to play at Tennessee. Let's see. Last year, Tennessee finished 8-5 after a bowl win. They were 5-3 in the SEC, including 24-20 win over Missouri. Do you have any moments from that game that stick out to you? I mean, that was one of the games of a few there where Barry Odom kind of lost. Everybody kind of started to lose faith in Barry Odom.
Yeah, I think that we had already kind of lost faith at that point. I think we were kind of on a 3 or 4 game skid, and the offense had shown literally nothing in the last month before that game. I think Missouri actually showed more signs of life in that game than they did on pretty much any game in the second half of the season, besides like Arkansas.
Yeah.
But that was the Nick Bolton play came from that game that
Right.
we talked about last week. But
Yeah.
ultimately, no, that's a pretty forgettable game for me. There just wasn't a lot to be happy about. I think that I was frustrated with where the season had ended up at that point, and just didn't have enough in the tank to get it done. And Tennessee really struggled at the beginning of the season, which it seems like they do a lot of the times, and they really flipped it on in the second half of that season. They were really pretty good by the end of the year.
Yeah, it seems like they may have finally found a coach in Jeremy Pruitt, and as a Mizzou fan, you hate to see that.
You hate to see it. Yeah.
SP Plus likes them in the preseason, number 19. Now that wouldn't be the first time, if that follows if the AP poll kind of follows that and has them ranked in the top 25, that wouldn't be the first time that Tennessee's been in the top 25 in the preseason, and then always failed to live up to it. But coming off the back of an 8-win season, it seems more likely than ever that they will actually find some traction and win a few games.
Yeah, they put together all these top 10 recruiting classes. Do you think
Right.
eventually they will find a way to put it all together?
It does seem like they now have a coach who is going to be able to develop players and maximize their potential.
What's the quarterback's name?
Jarrett Garantano.
Is he coming back,
He's back.
folks?
He is back, folks. But he will have to hold off Harrison Bailey, who is the number 3 pro-style quarterback in the class of 2020.
I thought you were going to say Harrison Bader.
Well, that'd be something. Harrison Bailey. So maybe a little bit of a quarterback battle there. JG, as that lady from that Tennessee game that we went to called him. If you haven't heard that story, I don't know what episode to find it, but I've told it a few times. JG never really, been spectacular, but he's got the experience. We'll see. Maybe he starts as the starter if Tennessee struggles, though.
He's still there.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah, redshirt senior.
He's an old man.
But we'll see if they ever turn to the freshman.
Cameron, this pains me to say it, but I've got Missouri losing this game.
Oh yeah, me too.
I think it's going to be 0-2, start off the year at Tennessee. I think they're going to be a little too salty this year, and
I think their defense is going to be really good.
I think so too. And I think Missouri is going to have its moments this year, but I think it may take a little bit to get rolling this year with a new coach and all that stuff.
Yep, I would agree. I've got Tennessee by 10, 24-14. I was having a kind of a crisis in my mind. I was like seeking the advice of producer Cameron in the pre-show. I don't know how to say these scores when I have Missouri losing. Kyle, what do you think?
I think that
how does this sound? I've got Missouri losing to Alabama, 10-38.
Now that you're doing it, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I personally think that's the worst thing I've ever heard.
Well, I'll never do it.
I'll be
again.
honest, I don't love it.
Okay. All right. Fine. Well, I've got Tennessee taking this one, 24-14.
There you go.
Yeah, Missouri 0-2 to start the season, and 0-3 because next they play at LSU.
But Joe Burrow's gone.
Yeah, I gotta say something
But
about
Clyde's
Joe Burrow.
gone.
Clyde's gone. Joe Burrow's gone. Jefferson's gone. Everybody's gone.
Everybody's opting out if they're still there.
Yeah, LSU, one of the all-time greatest seasons ever.
Yeah.
15-0, undefeated in the SEC. Joe Burrow, hands down, the greatest individual performance of any college football player in the history of college football, in my opinion.
I'll agree with that.
Completed 76% of his passes, for 5,671 yards, 60 touchdowns, plus 5 more rushing touchdowns.
Man, I did not know he had 60 touchdowns. That number really stands out to me.
Only 6 interceptions.
Their like whole offense is like on an NFL roster right now.
Yeah.
Like literally almost everybody in that offense.
Yeah, including their passing coordinator, Joe Brady, who is now the offensive coordinator with the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, Clyde Edwards-Helaire going to be your starting running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, a lot of good players. Missouri's still going to lose to them.
I don't know a single player that's going to suit up for LSU this year, but they're still going to be good somehow.
Their new quarterback is Miles Brennan. He was a 4-star recruit. Then they bring in the number 4 recruiting class in the country, including an excellent wide receiver and offensive line class. And producer Cameron will think this is very interesting. They bring in none other than Bo Pelini as the new defensive coordinator.
I did not know that.
Yes, and they will be moving to a 4-3.
Wow. How did I not know about that?
Well,
Because no one cares about Bo Pelini.
yeah,
I
you
sure
just
do.
don't want to think about him, honestly.
Freaking just chewing that gum on this. Man,
Oh, yeah.
You miss him, don't you?
no.
Do you miss his anger, his fire?
You miss
No.
having
It's
9 and
kinda
10 win
funny
seasons?
sometimes, but what?
Do you miss having 9 and 10 win seasons?
I do miss that, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like.
No, I never liked Bo Pelini when he was coaching Nebraska. I just always thought he looked like a big old meanie.
The
He was always mad.
Yeah.
He was never not mad.
the faux like Bo Pelini Twitter account is like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. One of the best parody accounts on the service. The service of Twitter.
The Microsoft Surface? Is that an ad?
Service.
Oh,
Jeez.
the service.
Yeah.
Like
Twitter.
like as in Twitter. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I've got Missouri losing to LSU. No, I've got LSU taking this one 41-24.
Okay. So you like a competitive game potentially, maybe down to the end?
No.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I got them losing.
Okay.
Missouri, that is.
Yeah. Let's see here. Vanderbilt.
Now
Missouri-
here's a game.
Hey. Missouri plays Vanderbilt on October 17th. It will be homecoming. It will be a night game. Vanderbilt is ranked 101st in SP+. That's not good.
That's bad.
Yeah. Missouri's like 45th or something. Although Vanderbilt was awful last year and beat Missouri 21-14. Right after the Tigers had won 5 in a row. And get this, Missouri was ranked 22nd in the nation.
Man, I believe they sat atop the SEC East.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get to that in a sec.
Um,
And we literally didn't preview. We said, yeah, Vanderbilt preview? Come on. Missouri rolls.
no,
Yeah.
we did.
Basically.
Oh, it's our fault.
I said I got Missouri by 1 million.
I woke up that morning feeling bad. I remember I specifically, like, I turned on the TV and I saw that Vanderbilt's backup quarterback was playing.
Oh, yeah.
And I, no joke, like, was like, I am sick to my stomach. Like, I had a bad feeling. And that was we've watched a lot of bad football over the last 5
That was
years.
depressing.
But that was truly horrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I'm getting flashbacks. Derek Mason, is he a good coach? Probably. Is he ever going to win at Vanderbilt? Probably not. Is he ever going to get fired? Probably not. He's just going to always be on the hot seat every year. I mean, last year, Vanderbilt won 3 games. Their other 2 wins, besides Missouri, were over Northern Illinois by 6 and East Tennessee State.
I literally can't think of like a more like paradoxical like coaching position than Vanderbilt. Like you're in the SEC, but it might also be the worst coaching position in the world. Like you will never, no one will ever win there. No one will ever be good.
James Franklin, they went to a bowl game or 2.
Okay, so they were able to go to a bowl game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would love to know like what Vanderbilt's best season is in their entire history.
Somebody could probably tell us. It's not me, though.
Okay.
Yeah, that Vanderbilt game last year is just.
I remember also like watching Derek Mason give this like heroic post game interview, and I was like, we let him do this to us.
Yeah.
Like he is like giving this triumphant speech, and I just sat there and watched it and had a little tear running down my cheek.
Vanderbilt loses Keyshawn Vaughn and Kalijah Lipscomb. So their number one running back and wide receiver. They do not have the same talent replacing them. So their offense should be worse. Their offense was not good last year.
Yeah, Keyshawn Vaughn was legitimately a really, really good back, and he's in the NFL now. He's playing with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. They have 100 running backs on their roster, but he's one of them.
Yep. I think Missouri's defense just controls this one, and Missouri wins it by 14 points. Give me Missouri 21-7.
I agree with you.
So the Tigers are now 1-3 in both of our projected records.
Our simulations.
Yes. All right. October 24th, Missouri goes on the road to play Florida. Florida is going to be excellent this season, in my opinion. I think Dan Mullen has got it going in Gainesville. SP Plus likes him a lot. Number 7 in the preseason rankings, 12th on offense, 6th on defense. Last year, Missouri did not put up much of a fight. They lost 23-6, and that was mainly due to Felipe Franks not playing and Kyle Trask being the new savior at quarterback for the Florida Gators. He's back this year.
Yeah, they really are like a legitimate threat now that they have a decent quarterback. Felipe Franks was just not getting it done. But he seems like the kind of guy that, like, if he's talented enough that if he figures it out, they're going to be good, or he's going to be good, but he just never quite put it together. And now he's at Arkansas?
Yeah.
So we're probably going to play him again?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay, well, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
We're going to see him again.
He's at Arkansas, yeah. They have an excellent tight end in Kyle Pitts, and LaMichael Pirine is now a New York Jet, so they replace him with a guy named Damian Pierce, who's supposed to be really good as well. If he gets into some open field, he can make a guy miss, take it to the house. Let's see here. Florida pretty much always has one of the best defensive secondaries in the country. That will not change this upcoming season. Excellent safeties, good cornerbacks. Going to be hard to really do anything at all when you go up against their defense. Even though Missouri's had good luck and shown up in a few big games against Florida over the years recently. Just throwing my pen around.
Mm-hmm.
I think they lose to Florida 31-14.
Yeah, I really don't have any reason to disagree with that take. Maybe Kyle Trask comes back down to earth and struggles this year. But I still think their defense is going to be too elite that it may not really matter in a lot of their games.
I think Kyle Trask is going to be legitimately good this season. As much as I would maybe...
Is he going to take that Joe Burrow step? That senior year step?
I don't know about that. But I think they found their guy last year when he started. Mm-hmm. And he will improve. And
these kind of stories will always like give hope to the backup quarterback crowd that are always just clamoring for like that guy. Like, okay, your starter's struggling a little bit. Pull him, put him in this other guy. These kind of stories give credibility to those kind of situations.
Yeah, those ideas in the fandom. All right, so Missouri is 1-4 on both of our books going into a Halloween morning matchup against Kentucky at home. Kentucky ranked 28th in SP+, 40th on offense, 25th on defense. Biggest thing about Kentucky is Lynn Bowden gone. And I always want to call him Bowden, like Bobby Bowden, the former coach of Florida State,
but
it's Bowden. And he's in the NFL, I'm pretty sure. He's
he actually just got traded to Miami like within the last week, but he was on the Raiders roster. But I've been listening to a few like various NFL related podcasts recently, and I've heard multiple very well known podcasts refer to him as Bowden. And I just shake my head.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're smarter than these people. We know more about football than these people.
Absolute amateurs. He was their entire offense last season.
Mm-hmm.
He started at quarterback multiple games. He was their leading receiver and second on the team in rushing, I believe.
Yeah, I think he might have started actually at wide receiver or something, and then ended up at quarterback. But
Right.
yeah, he was playing quarterback by the time Missouri played him.
Yeah.
And it just didn't really matter. He threw the ball probably less than 10 times, but
Yeah, that was another awful game to watch.
Didn't matter.
He just ran all over Missouri's defense. And run defense is a strength of Missouri, but not when you're going up against a running quarterback who, did just enough to find open space. And I don't know, for some reason, Missouri was just not prepared for that kind of an attack.
Mm-hmm.
And they just didn't know what to do. And Missouri wasn't the only team that was victimized by this gentleman last season. But he kind of broke out against Missouri and kind of showed that he could just carry Kentucky
it was like,
offensively.
You know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Like, how can you let this happen?
Right.
But he's really, really talented. But at the same time, how do you let this happen?
Yeah.
He's not going to throw the ball. Yeah, I think we were you have an annual Halloween party at your house every year. And I believe this was the night of that party. And I was probably sitting in my costume, whatever it was last year, all sad. Probably sitting there snacking on something, crying into my bowl of chili or something, like as I watched Missouri just get trounced by Lynn Bowden Jr.
Yeah. Quarterback this season is going to be Terry Wilson, whose injury led to Lynn Bowden taking over. They also have a transfer quarterback from Auburn named Joey Gatewood, who the Kentucky staff is pretty confident will get a waiver to be able to be eligible immediately this season. I think he'll be kind of a change of pace quarterback. I think they'll try to play two quarterbacks at times this season. And Gatewood he'll be really nice to have as a backup in case of injury, but I think they will try to get him on the field and maybe do some kind of wildcat stuff, but with a quarterback that can throw. I think Missouri will be able to run the ball on Kentucky's defense. I think that'll be the weakness of Kentucky's team, will be their run defense. And because I need to, just for my own sanity, find a win or two more on this schedule, and I think this is Missouri's best opportunity at home against a team that they'll be able to run on with the two really good running backs. I got Missouri winning this one. It'll be a nail-biter, low scoring. I think Missouri will be able to control the time of possession, win by like 2 or 3.
I'm with you. I think Missouri wins.
All right. So, back to Georgia, but it's at home. Georgia at home. Georgia's going to be really good again. They have basically been, I feel like them and Oklahoma are the two teams in college football in the last 5 years that are every bit as good as anybody else, but just can't get over the hump and win a national championship.
They've been close twice.
Yeah. Last year, Missouri got shut out by Georgia, I believe. And that was depressing. I don't really remember much about that game. Yeah, 27-0 was the final score. I think that we were
that was in that stretch where the offense did nothing for like a whole month.
They literally did nothing against Georgia. One thing I do remember about Georgia's season last year, though, was if we rewind the clock a little bit to early in the season, they lost overtime game to South Carolina, and we were watching that on our phones while we were attending the open basketball practice that was being held in lieu of any kind of Mizzou madness last year.
Yeah, that was a fun day. They played Ole Miss later that night in football and won, and that was when they were atop the SEC East. But yeah, like you said earlier in the day, they held like a little open basketball practice, and it was really interesting for the first 30 minutes or so, and then we realized the South Carolina Georgia game was coming down to the wire and going to multiple overtimes, and we're like watching on our phones, like trying to not let our phones die because we had the whole day in front of us.
Right.
Georgia typically has a really good kicker, but I think he missed a game tie. What would have been the game tying field goal, I think he missed, and it was like shocking.
Mm-hmm.
And South Carolina pulled it off.
Yep. Georgia did go on to win the SEC East, though, wasn't Missouri, even though they were on top there for about 2 minutes. But they lost to LSU in the SEC championship in a not great game for Georgia. Not super close. LSU was just dominant, though. They lost DeAndre Swift to the draft, and they lost their quarterback, Jamie Newman, to opting out. He transferred in from Wake Forest, who was going to be their guy, and he opted out. So that's bad news for Georgia. Good news is they have the number 1 recruiting class coming in, so they will be okay. And SP Plus has them as the number 1 defense in the country in the preseason.
I love the sound of that. I actually think Georgia's more beatable this year than they have been in the last few years. But I did not say they are going to lose to Missouri. But
okay.
I do think that the shot may be more likely this year than it has been in recent years. That's not really like
I got Georgia by 25.
Going out there that much, but
yeah.
I got Georgia, but it'll be a smaller margin than that.
All right, we'll see. So Missouri's 2-5. 2-5 coming down the stretch. Remember, this is year 0. We're retooling. Don't set your expectations too high. All right, let's see if we can close out the season with a win or two. November 21st, we're going at South Carolina. South Carolina beat Missouri 34-14 last year. No, Missouri beat South Carolina 34-14 on the back of
Ronell Perkins.
100-yard pick six.
Yep. Yes, I was. I've probably told the story before, but I had to work that evening, and I watched the first half of the game or so, and Missouri was playing pretty well. I get a text from my wife, and I open the text, and it's just a video, and I can tell that it's the Missouri game. I'm like, oh, man, something really good must have happened. So I watched the video, and she had filmed the television of Ronell Perkins running back a 100-yard interception for a touchdown. And
I wonder where she learned to film the television.
I have no idea where she learned something like some goofy thing like that.
Yeah, I mean, looking back through Missouri's results from last year, that's one that kind of sticks out. It's like, really? Missouri beat South Carolina 34-14. Missouri scored 34 points. I mean, when you think about how the offense imploded down the stretch, looking at that box score is kind of like, okay, where?
Yeah, things look pretty good at that point in the year. That was early on.
Kyle, South Carolina has a new offensive coordinator. He's formerly the head coach at Colorado State, and his name is Mike Bobo. I just really wanted to let you know.
I've never heard of Mike
Offensive
Bobo, but
coordinator Mike Bobo.
I like him.
They lose Brian Edwards to the NFL. He was excellent and was a thorn in the side of every team that South Carolina went up against for several years.
A little bit of a sleeper for an NFL guy this year to watch.
Like for fantasy football?
Well, maybe, or just like a
productive
player that you may not have
kinda under the
really
radar.
been anticipating.
Gotcha. They do bring back Ryan Helinski. He'll be the guy at quarterback, and I think he's pretty good. He's okay. I think he can win them some games.
Mm-hmm.
But the pieces around him, I don't know. We'll see. I think their offense is going to struggle, but I think their defense will be able to carry them through some games. The defense returned 6 of the top 8 tacklers from last season. I've got South Carolina beating Missouri, not by a lot. I think it'll be close. I'm saying maybe like 21-17.
Got a lot of low-scoring games on that schedule of yours. I think Missouri's going to win this game. It's deep in the season. At this point, we don't really know what Missouri's going to look like. This might look completely ludicrous.
Yeah.
At this point, but I think Missouri's going to win this game. I think that they're kind of on a similar tier as far as their skill level and their recruiting class coming in. So I think it's a completely winnable game.
At this point in the season, we'll know everything we need to know about Missouri's offense. They will have been tested, obviously, against the best defenses in the country, and then they will have had chances to show if they can do anything. And if they've shown that they can do something and, kind of right the wrongs of the end of last season, then I could definitely see this being a potential win. But it's hard to predict that right now when, the last thing we've seen from Missouri's offense was literally nothing for half the season.
I think Missouri's defense is going to keep them in a lot of games this year. And it really does kind of probably come down to how good the offense is and how quickly they can learn the scheme and figure things out. But they might surprise a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're right on that one. Next up, we have Arkansas. That is on November 28th. Arkansas, new coach, Sam Pittman. New offensive coordinator, Kendall Briles. New defensive coordinator, Barry Odom. Ever heard of him?
Me, personally, yes, I have.
New quarterback, Felipe Franks. Same running back,
Just an
Rakeem Boyd.
all-star cast of,
Yeah.
just characters, man.
Yeah, seriously.
Storyline in every single person you just said.
Best defensive player, Bumper Pool. That's true. That's true. Story.
I know who that is, yeah.
That's a real player.
You're like, that's true, that's true.
Yeah.
Like, I know.
Yeah, don't doubt me. That's a real person.
Remember Jeremy Sprinkle?
No,
He was like a tight end that played for Arkansas like a few years ago.
no, I don't remember
The
that.
more you know.
Yeah. What's Arkansas going to be able to do in the first season in the Pittman
I think
era?
they're gonna be terrible.
Uh,
They'll win one.
Felipe Franks,
game
change of
maybe.
scenery. You don't think?
No.
Okay. Kendall Briles, a little bit controversial hire.
I give them a couple years and their offense will be better. Actually, Boyd he's a very good player.
Rakeem Boyd is excellent.
He's definitely one of the best.
He probably should have just gone to the NFL.
Yeah,
Not
Arkansas is
wasted his
actually
time with this team next year.
Arkansas is going to be undefeated. Actually, I changed my mind.
Oh, well, Sam Pittman has a history of coaching the offensive line. So if he can coach them up a bit, find some running lanes for Rakeem Boyd, maybe they could do something.
I think that's kind of a hilarious hire. Honestly, I don't think that's going to work out real great. But Barry Odom
Write that down.
might be a great coordinator, defensive coordinator.
Old takes exposed is going to be coming for Kyle when Arkansas just trashes Missouri this season.
Yeah, don't tell anyone I said that.
All right.
Don't tell your friends, but just internalize what I just said and just be thinking about it, but don't tell anyone.
You think Missouri wins this one?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So Kyle, that's your fourth win for Missouri. Kind of improving.
Kinda scary.
There at the end of the season. Yeah, I've got Missouri winning this one as well. I'm still one win behind you. So I've got them at 3-6 right now. You're at 4-5. Heading into the last game of the season on the road at Mississippi State. And
Mike Leach.
Yeah. So I had something interesting to tell you about Mike Leach
Okay.
taking over a team.
Okay.
This is from the good folks over at College Football News.
Oh, great folks.
They have a little bit here about when Mike Leach took over at Washington State. So this is direct from collegefootballnews.com. When Leach took over Washington State in 2012, the team was awful, but it finished 9th in the nation in passing. It finished 4th in 2013 and was number 1 in 4 of the next 6 years, and was 2nd in one of those off seasons and 3rd in the other.
Gardner Minshew.
Gardner Minshew. Minshew Mania.
Mm.
So, Mike Leach going to come in, install his famous air raid, passing attack, put up big numbers.
They have a returning quarterback.
Oh, jeez, Kyle. You
I
think I would
believe
know.
that it's a new quarterback this year. I believe Fitz something. Was their quarterback last year?
Yeah. I think we had a similar conversation about this last year regarding the Mississippi State quarterback.
Okay. What's his name? What's the fella's name?
Fitz something was the old one.
Okay.
You
He was
keep
pretty good.
talking about something else. I'll look it up.
Oh, okay. You're putting me in the spot. Have you found it yet?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Fitz something is gone.
You still don't know his name yet?
No. I don't even know how to look that up.
Okay. Don't worry about it. Research department?
I'm pretty sure it was just Fitzgerald. It's not even that hard.
Larry Fitzgerald. Okay, I should have known
Yes, Nick Fitzgerald.
that. Okay, yep, you're right.
He's a free agent in the NFL right now.
Okay.
If you're interested. He's gone. Mike Leach is going to find his guy. They're going to air it out. And we'll have a much better preview of Mississippi State in December, right before they actually play them.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, we don't really know anything about them, obviously, at this time. New players, new coach. I don't know what to tell you, but I know Missouri's going to win.
The bold prediction from Kyle.
Mm-hmm. They're going to finish the season on a 3-game winning streak, folks.
No chance.
You heard it here. You heard it here first.
No chance. Oh, man. Kyle. Okay. I got him losing to Mississippi State. I got him finishing.
What scares you about Mississippi State?
I don't know, but I'll find it before we get there.
They're going to suck. I don't know anything about them, but I can promise you they're going to suck.
Oh, Kyle,
so bad.
Kyle's selling all of his Mississippi State stock. Okay. I guess we'll find out.
I sold you on that, didn't I?
No.
Okay. Well, I tried.
I still have Missouri losing that game. So,
all right, we'll keep that in mind.
Okay. I think I've kind of painted a worst-case scenario picture of Missouri.
That's a first.
Yeah.
Hey, good
I'm trying
job.
to be realistic
Good
here.
job.
Thank you. I wish I could say the same for you. I've got them 3-7 after 10 SEC games. I've got them beating, in reverse order of the schedule, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. Not much to write home about, but it is what it is. You've got them beating Mississippi State, Arkansas, South Carolina, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt.
Yeah. That's right.
Those are literally all the even close to winnable games on Missouri's schedule. You've got them winning them all.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Does 5-5 get you to a bowl game?
I have no idea what they're going to do for bowl
I
games.
think you need 6 wins. Whoa.
Well, yeah.
Oh,
Cameron,
okay.
Thanks.
All right.
That is true. 6 wins will get you to a bowl game in a normal year. This year, I don't know what will get you in a bowl game if they even have bowl games.
Will bowl games exist?
Probably not.
We don't know.
Internal bowl games, like within the conference.
Oh, that'd be
something.
not
I
fun.
can tell you who does exist, and that's Mike Bobo.
Yes. New offensive coordinator at South Carolina. Former head coach of Colorado State. All right, Kyle. What's the game that you're looking at? Okay, so look down the schedule there. What game after that game will we know what's going on with Missouri this season? Who is Missouri? We will know after which game?
Vanderbilt.
Really?
Yeah, because we'll see a little bit of it all after the Vanderbilt game. We'll see what they're like when they're completely overmatched, Alabama. What they're like against a team Tennessee's like kind of a coin flip, but Tennessee's going to be favored.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt, kind of a coin flip, but Missouri's going to be favored. LSU, somewhere in between Tennessee and Alabama. Like
Closer to Alabama, in my opinion.
probably. But I think that those 3 games in the first 4 weeks really give an interesting variety of difficulty.
Tennessee, LSU, and Vanderbilt. Just forgetting about Alabama. You're talking about those 3, yeah.
And I think we'll know a little bit. We'll obviously know a lot more about what the offense is going to look like. How are they splitting up carries between Larry Roundtree and Tyler Beatty, all that kind of stuff. What does the defense look like? Is it pretty much the same version of last year?
Probably.
So I think we'll know quite a bit after those first 4 weeks.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yep. What happens if Missouri somehow is not able to beat Vanderbilt and starts the season 0-5, assuming they lose to Florida? Do you think, let's just say they lose to Vanderbilt, there's an upset, played bad, maybe they looked okay against Tennessee and LSU. How would that change? Do you think that the morale would be low enough that things could spiral out of control and only beat Arkansas? Like, what's the low point for this season? Do you think it's lower than 3 wins?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think the floor is seriously like 0 or 1 wins. I mean, anything can happen. Even if they start off 0-5, I think they'll still be 5-5 because that's what I predicted them.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
No, I really think the ceiling is probably 5 6 wins at the absolute most. I don't even know where the 6th win would come from. 5 wins is probably the ceiling.
5 wins is for
The
sure
floor
the ceiling.
is absolutely 0 wins. I don't think that will happen, but it's not like something that's out of the question whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think this
They'd
year
have to get pretty terribly unlucky, I think, to finish with 0 or 1 win.
they have enough talent
Yeah.
on the roster where they should not finish with 0 or 1 wins, but I've seen more surprising things happen, honestly, with Mizzou football. So
Yeah, between 3 and 5 seems like the most logical, realistic range.
yeah,
Probably with a much higher. I think I'd put a much higher chance on 3 versus 5, and then 4 obviously is in the middle there.
and with any possible outcomes with COVID too, you just have no idea. Like if there's going to be a bunch of players missing in one game, and that goes for either team. So
Right.
maybe
It's
Mizzou
impossible to, obviously, to try to factor that into any predictions.
This
but
will probably be like this season will just have an asterisk at the on it for the rest of eternity, because there's going to be things like that happen where, Florida has 5 of their best defensive starters out and Missouri ends up beating them, and then everyone's going to be like, well, who cares, because Florida had all these guys out, that kind of thing. That's going to happen.
Yeah, it's maybe the best time to be the new head coach, because expectations are going to be just, I mean,
it's truly
nobody's
like
gonna
year
have any.
0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially with the quarterback change. I mean, that just adds to it. In a normal season, we'd be looking at this like, well, Drinkwitz has to come in and figure out what he's got on offense and, try to build something from scratch almost. And now with all the weirdness on top of it, nobody's going to really bat an eye if Missouri just has a completely awful season. And then they'll get a high draft pick. That's how that works, right?
Yeah, that's exactly how it works.
All right. Well, that's the season preview. Game by game. Now, let's do some 7-on-7 drafting. So we're drafting 2 teams of all Mizzou players, and it is in the style of the video game NFL Street. So all that really means is that your 7 guys are going to play offense, and those 7 guys are going to be your entire defense as well. So
Including your quarterback.
So versatility goes a long way. And I think we need to decide who is picking first.
You were correct.
I have a virtual coin if you'd like to do that.
On your computer?
Virtual coin.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Perfect. Kyle, you can call it.
Theme of COVID, virtual coin, I will call heads.
Flipping. It is tails.
Let's go.
Oh, that is unbelievable.
Okay, I'll take Nick Bolton, please. One Nick Bolton on my roster,
I hadn't
please.
really thought about what I was going to do.
Easiest decision of my entire life.
Yep.
Please give me Nick Bolton. So, Kyle, you get the next 2 picks.
Hey, great.
Keep in mind Nick Bolton off the board because I drafted him number 1.
Yeah, I'll remember that.
Okay.
Aren't there 4 more?
We wish.
All right. I'm going to take Daniel Parker Jr.
Ooh, interesting pick.
He's going to play on the line, D-line and O-line.
Do some pass catching.
Potentially.
Do some run blocking.
Do some interesting little routes.
Yeah. Nick Bolton on offense for me is going to be used on the offensive line, but we're going to get creative with it. We might pull him, lead block for my yet to be announced running back. We'll get creative with it.
That sounds good. I'm going to pick Larry Roundtree because he's going to play a running back, but he's also going to play linebacker.
I wouldn't mind seeing that in real life, honestly.
That would be pretty sick.
He's kind of built like a linebacker.
Yeah.
Well, even though I don't think you would dip right back into the running back position, the talent that's sitting there, if it were me already having Larry Roundtree, I would be tempted to just go ahead and snatch up Tyler Beatty and be really unfair if he was still sitting there. So I need to go ahead and secure my running back, and that will be Tyler Beatty. Also, that comes with some flexibility. You can split him out wide. He's super athletic and I'll put him out in coverage, maybe a safety spot. So I've got Nick Bolton and Tyler Beatty. I have another pick here. Let me update my list. That Daniel Parker Jr. pick, very good on your part, I must say. I'm going to grab Damon Hazelton and get my wide receiver. I think by the end of the season, he will have separated himself from the rest of the wide receivers, and I think he'll be a nice target for whoever ends up throwing the ball in real life and on this 7-on-7 team. And, of course, he will be a fine defensive back for me as well.
All right. I'm going to take a stab at Jarvis Ware. He's going to play cornerback and wide receiver. I think Jarvis Ware is one of the most talented players on Missouri's squad this year, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do. We got another pick, and I need another wide receiver, a quarterback, and 2 linemen. I am going to snatch up Kobe Whiteside before you do, and he's going to play on the line.
I think I had him lined up to be my next pick.
I figured you might have.
Okay. Let's see here. I think I might have to get creative here. Man. Me having, if you'd have allowed me to somehow draft Kobe Whiteside, that would have been game over for you, I think.
Yeah.
But under the circumstances, I think I'm going to go grab Tyree Gillespie.
Okay. Good pick. And he is playing what position?
He'll be playing wide receiver and kind of a safety linebacker hybrid for me.
Okay.
And in different formations, of course, switch things up. Can't be too predictable. And then, man, this is tough. I think I'm going to go ahead and get Sean Robinson.
Got your quarterback.
Yeah. I know I've been kind of down on Sean Robinson, at least for his real-life prospects for the Missouri Tigers. But I think in this 7-on-7 format, playing both sides of the ball, need any bit of extra athleticism I can get. As much as I love Connor Bazelak as a quarterback,
he's a liability on defense.
Yeah. The mobility after his injury.
It shows Sean Robinson probably, but less so than Connor Bazelak.
Yeah. And I think maybe I can just cover up Sean Robinson by sticking him next to Nick Bolton. And
kind of doing 2 linebackers.
Yeah. And maybe I'll have him, I don't know, have him kind of spy your quarterback or something. I don't know.
Okay. My turn then?
Yep.
I'm going to pick Kiki Chisholm. And he's going to play wide receiver and cornerback. So that means I need 1 more lineman and a quarterback. And I'm going to pick Trey Williams. And he's going to be on the line. I'm waiting till the end on quarterback because you already have one.
Yeah. And
there's not really like a quarterback on the roster that stands out as I don't know.
Sure.
Like
head
game
and shoulders
winner.
as like a Drew Lock style, just gonna be the
and even when Drew Lock was a quarterback, we didn't really pick him, did we? Because he was gonna have to play defense.
Right. Yeah, that was maybe a mistake.
Probably. He's turned out to be a great linebacker.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to. Yes, producer Cameron.
Never mind. It's
okay.
not worth it.
Okay. I'm really struggling here about who I want. on my line.
You still have 2 linemen left, or just 1?
I think I need to go ahead and get 2. I could get creative, though, and have Nick Bolton. No, I just need I'm going to have to get 2 bigger guys for up front. And one of them is going to be Case Cook. He is, I think, the best offensive lineman on the roster. And I think he's going to lead the way for Tyler Beatty. And I think he's just, he is good enough to make some kind of impact as a defensive lineman.
Okay.
In the 7-on-7.
Best hair on the team, too?
Oh, yeah. And then I'm actually finishing off my roster here. And I think I need another defensive lineman, like a more traditional defensive lineman. And we kind of glossed over this guy in our player previews, but we've been hearing good things from the coaching staff about Markel Utsi.
It came down between Markel Utsi and Trey Williams for me, so I like the pick.
So my squad's complete. You got your last pick left.
All right, this is an old school trick I'm about to bring about, and you might know what I'm about to do.
I'm already writing it down.
But I'm picking Micah Wilson, even though he's not even a quarterback anymore on the roster officially. But he's going to play quarterback for me in my 7-on-7 team.
That's tricky.
I don't know that if we're really playing this game of 7-on-7, it might be a little sloppy. It's not as like buttoned up as like a normal college football game, and so I'm not sure I need my quarterback.
People do like wall runs, put the ball between their legs.
Yeah,
and like
I'm not sure I need my quarterback to draw back and just really like go through the progressions and read the defense. I just need an athletic guy who's got an arm.
It makes perfect sense. I mean, that was my argument last season, I think, when I picked him.
I think Micah Wilson's been picked in this draft for like 4 years, 3 years running. However long this podcast has existed, I think he's been picked.
It just makes a lot of sense for that format. I mean, basically what you're committing to, I think, on offense is what's it called when you misdirection is what I'm looking for. Misdirection run game, where you never know. You're running the option. Are you handing it off? Read option with Larry Roundtree and Michael Wilson. RPO.
Yeah, he could even run the ball a little bit.
Endless possibilities.
And I think he could be a decent linebacker safety, maybe. Probably better than Bazelak. So we'll see what he can do on defense.
Okay. Yeah, I got to be honest. Your team looks pretty good, but you don't have Nick Bolton. So I think I can win the hearts and minds of the
of the voters,
of the good friends and fellow Mizzou fans out there.
That's certainly a good point.
So I think I was a little late on this last year, but I made a little graphic, even though I'm not the resident graphic designer.
You were not.
That kind of showed the players in their positions.
It was great,
defense.
though. It's really great.
So maybe I'll get with the actual graphic designer, and we'll come up with something similar.
Yeah, we need everybody on Twitter to vote for that.
And then we can put that out there so everybody can visualize, where everybody's playing on the field. I think it helps really understand which team's better.
For sure.
When you see Nick Bolton out there.
Yeah, everyone's going to see Micah Wilson and be like, who's that?
Seriously. Like the fifth string wide receiver? No. He's Kyle's Wildcat quarterback. Yeah, I remember I actually you tweeted I tweeted a GIF of Michael Wilson running for a touchdown against UConn on a quarterback keeper. And then you tweeted a GIF of Terry Beckner Jr. Shrugging or something like who cares?
Yeah.
We
were on point with those GIFs that year.
Yeah, you had Terry Beckner on your team. I think the folks liked your team a little bit better than mine. But I think I've got it this year.
All right.
All right, well, that was a long episode, but we still we're just barely over an hour.
Barely over 4 hours.
Yep. Jammed a lot in there. 7-on-7 draft. 106apparel.co. Kyle, why don't you tell the folks where they can find our voices and faces?
Hey, everyone. I know you're already listening to this podcast, but you can find us on Spotify.
Shoot. I was supposed to say this earlier in the podcast. Now is a great time to start listening. And I know you're already listening, but for your dad, your uncle, your nephew, who every year they say, I just don't really know the players that well. I don't, I'm not really into the team. They haven't been good. You say, I got just the thing. Listen to this podcast. They go over the players, the schedule. You know, that's all you need. And
we'll recap the games.
Yes.
We'll talk about the games.
And we'll have everybody ready going into the season. And then, we'll be here every week after the games are played. So, yeah, tell your family, your friends that,
tell your weird uncle.
Yeah, those borderline Mizzou fans, tell them you want to be here now.
Mm-hmm.
You want to start drinking up before the general public.
That's true. So you can know what's going on.
Yeah.
You don't actually have an Uncle Sam. Isn't that interesting?
You do.
Yeah, I really do.
Oh, so does every United States citizen.
I know. Isn't that amazing?
You're not special.
I'm going to have to tell Sam you said that. All right, everybody. You can find us on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Mizzou Sports Pod. And you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
And we're on YouTube. And check out 106pro.co. Link in description. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll see you next week.